Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bongo Ade, a faculty member of Lagos Business School, and it is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to today's webinar in continuation of the Lagos Business School COVID-19 Conversation Series. Today's webinar has the theme, Managing Businesses to Last Beyond Founders, the Building Blocks of Sustainable Family Business. I think the theme is just self-explanatory. We don't need to add anything. How do we get family businesses to last beyond the founders? And we have as panelists an elite family business gurus in Nigeria, internationally. We have assembled a crack team of people who are already in the field, who know how to handle family businesses. I start with Dr. Cosmas Maduka, a man who doesn't need much introduction. I will have to introduce him anyway, do a little bit of his profile before he speaks. We also have Alhaji MD Abubakar, and then we have Mr. Rasheed Sarumi. Of course, we have a second generation family business manager in the person of Mrs. Uzoma Ezoke. I will be introducing each and every one of them before they speak. It is also interesting to note that Dr. Oke Nwuke, a faculty member of Lagos Business School, a man who wears many hats, is also the Deputy General Managing Director of Koshari's Group and a non-executive director with Access Bank. Okay, he's also a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Okay, he's a family business specialist at the Lagos Business School. He's a faculty member of Lagos Business School. He has a DBA. So this is his program. He's a convener. At Lagos Business School, we've done several research on how to make family businesses sustainable. And Okay has been on the lead in that research. So today he's going to be talking to us about what makes family businesses work. And he's assembled a team that would bring it home. We hear from the horse's mouth. How do we build sustainable family businesses, especially in our own situation, in our own climate, here in Africa, where we know that their mortality rate is quite high. So how do we get family businesses to move beyond the first generation of founders? I will now introduce Oke Nwuke. As I've said, he's the convener of this program. He's going to lay the ground rules and then set the stage rolling. So Dr. Oke, what are we here for today? What is family businesses and how do we get them going? Hello? Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Okay, great. And let's have your slide on the slide view or the presentation mode.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to join the moderator, Dr. Bongo Ade, in welcoming all of us to this webinar, where we'll be sharing experience with distinguished leaders of family businesses that we have put together today on the building blocks of sustainable family business. Unlike what Dr. Bongo said, I'm not a member of the panel because I don't have any family business and my father did not leave one for me, unfortunately. But my job today is to help in setting the stage for the discussion. We have experts here, like you said, we have Dr. Maduka here, first generation founder of family business. I have Mr. Rasheed Sarumi, who you hear from him, says he's in between first and second generation. You have Mrs. Ezoke, who is purely a second generation leader of family business, and Alhaji MD Abubakar, who is a founder, first generation. Basically, what we want to do today is, how do we, hearing from this August core group of family business leaders, to hear from them what actions have they taken so far and what is their plan towards ensuring that their own businesses live beyond them. And to set the stage, basically, I want to help us. What do we, when we say family business, I mean, I'd like us to be on the same page. I'm not going to teach today, but basically to help us, have a simple definition of what we mean by family business. And like you see on the slide, I will just have define family business as entities, companies where individuals that are related through marriage or lineage own significant stakes and are in management control of family businesses. Now, as you can see from the slide, family businesses are so critical to us as a people and as countries. And then when I say that, I'm not limiting myself to Nigeria, and whether Africa or the developed countries share in these statistics. So again, as seen from the slide, looking at statistics, family businesses dominate the business environment, both in terms of number of businesses that are registered, 80 to 90%, that's not small at all. And in terms of contribution to, however you look at it, to the economic growth and welfare of countries, ranging anywhere 50 to 70% of GDP, workforce, that employment, and tax incomes of countries. And then it's also important to mention that family businesses outperform their non-family counterparts when you put them side by side. So it's not all about bad stories. And on top of that, if you go to most exchanges in the country, whether in the world, whether it's FTSE, whether it's the S&P, name it, family businesses constitute over 30% of listed companies on the exchanges. Now, having listed out all these key parameters, key attributes of family businesses, there's an unfortunate angle to it, that which is most of the family businesses struggle to transit between one generation to the other, especially between the founding generation and the rest. And then when I mean transition, both leadership and ownership. So a whole lot of them tend to fade away at that point. Now, from the statistics that we have, just about 30% survive from third generation to second generation. That means 70% we go at that stage. And only about 10% survive to the third generation. Now, it means by the time we get to the fourth generation, perhaps almost all of them are and we are almost starting afresh. The implication of this is such that, in most countries, a very high rate of churn about family businesses, that people have to start again where others stopped. Now, I don't know many of us that will know about this the companies that are on this slide today. Well, if you're imagination, you know most of them, except maybe one or two. But at least many of us there will know Kennedy Chiku, the foremost transport business in the country. So popular that it was more like a Nigerian version of British Airways, where you can put your child, an unaccompanied minor, from one location to the other without having any challenges. On this list, you remember, whether it's MQ Abiola Group, the Udushala group of companies in the ages. These are companies that were, corporate titans at their, when they were in their heydays. So these are not just companies that we put together, but these are dominant players in their various sectors. But as I speak today, you either hear of the assets that they have, but you don't have the companies put together. Some of them have shrunk so much that you can't even relate what they are today to what they used to be. Now, but the question is, yes, we know that companies fail. Many reasons lead companies to fail. Not just family businesses, whether it's bad management, structural changes in the economy, changes in government policies, etc. So we are not focusing on those companies that failed as a result of those factors that I just mentioned. Rather, we are focusing on companies that failed, family businesses in particular, failed at the point or just after the owner, passing the baton, either in a conscious effort, some die, without any plans, etc. But just at the exit of the founders, this failure begins. Now, so somebody will now ask, are there reasons? What are the things that are peculiar to family business that make them go through this? Like I said earlier on, this high failure rate is not peculiar to Nigeria. But I would dare say that the impact is so much in Nigeria, country like Nigeria, given the structure of our economies. Now, like I said earlier on, many countries have different sayings for this. The Chinese say that the wealth never survived 3 generations. The Scots say that father buys, the son builds, the grandchild sells, and the own son begs. While the Americans say that shirt sleeve to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. The overall impact of this is across countries is not, again, like I said, not peculiar to Nigeria. This high churn of family business is such that it's almost like a generational issue. From one generation to the other, by the time you get to 3rd generation, you're starting from square one. Now, like I said earlier on, someone may want to ask, what are the key features of family businesses that are unique, that perhaps lend them to this kind of challenge of being unable to transit from one generation to the other? Now we try to look at, how composition of a family business. As you can see from the slide, is like three distinct entities put together. Family is a distinct entity, business is a distinct entity, the ownership, shareholding, whether owners or investors, distinct entity. In non-family owned businesses, what you have here be two of those, ownership and business. Now the family into the room that comes in and further complicates these things. Like you imagine, it takes an alignment of objective of these three entities for progress to be made in a family business. Perhaps that's why it's a bit more complex. Because if you look at this slide, when you get to the circle that has business, it's made up of employees, some of which can be family, some are non-family. Even the interaction and how this, the dynamics of family and non-family employees are treated creates its own a bit of complexity. Again, if you go to the family, you have family members that are in business, some of them are in ownership, some are not. Even getting an alignment of family members as relates to the business is also a challenge. Now, you have the typical issue of owners, ownership, what he or she does with the shareholding, etc. So perhaps it is an understanding of this complexity of family business that will help in the quest to see how we can make family businesses a bit more sustainable. Now, today's discussion basically is a collaboration between Lagos Business School working with family business leaders to find ways to start a discussion, to begin to shine more light, as they say, to raise the consciousness about these features of family businesses. As important as family businesses are, how do we ensure that we work on these features? Let everybody connected to family business, whether the employees, professionals that work in family business, the owners, etc., having better appreciation of these unique features of family businesses that perhaps can lend it to being able to survive generations. Now, we know that when family businesses fail, a whole lot of things go with it. Families are disrupted, family unity, family structure, because family typically depend on business for income and sustenance, even identity. Now, stakeholders are totally impoverished, the value chain goes away, unemployment is increased. So perhaps what we are doing today is we put together a panel of family business leaders who will help us from what they have done in their own time, what they are doing now. We pick them from different cultures, like I said earlier on. We have first generation founders like Dr. Maduka, Abubakar. You have, they have different experiences, different cultures. Dr. Maduka is from the East, Rasheed is from the West. You have MD Abubakar from the North. So the cultural aspect to that will also probably be shown as we hear from these business leaders. Then again, like I said, we have different generations. We have first generation founders and second generation successors. In this case, we have Mrs. Ezeoke, who will come as a second generation leader. Perhaps our own experience will be that a bit different from that of first generation founders. Rasheed says in between. Perhaps they also let us know what is in between first and second generation. Now, putting this together, we hope that at the end of this webinar, everybody that is participating today would have picked one or two things, either from the experience of these people, these panel members that were put together. What have they done? What are they doing? Perhaps all that experience will help us to begin to raise the consciousness among all of us on what we need to do to ensure that our family businesses begin to survive from one generation to the other. Enjoy the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. K, for that very illuminating introduction to the program. So, listeners, today we are on the Managing Business to Last Beyond Founders, the building blocks of successful, sustainable family businesses. So if you are just joining us, so know that that is the theme of our discussion. And then we have gathered, as Dr. K has led by, a team of eminent, highly qualified, because it is the people who are in the front line, who are running successful family businesses. So to discuss what it is that make their business tick. And then, like he also introduced, we have them across geographies. We have from the South, from the Southeast, from the North, and from the West. Then we have them also across generations. We have the first generation, we have the intergeneration, and then we have the second generation. So we have it all covered. And then across different sectors of the economy as well. So it's going to be it's promising to be a very rich and very interesting discussion that we're going to have. So to again set us going, I want to introduce Dr. Cosmas Maduka. He's a man that doesn't require a lot of introduction as such, because everybody knows about the Coscharis group of companies. But let me just do a little bit of his citation. Dr. Maduka was born in Jos Plateau State on December 24th, 1958. He is the founder, president, and CEO of Coscharis Group. He started Coscharis Motors as a one-man business, and over the years has transformed the organization into an indigenous conglomerate with diverse interests in agriculture, banking, manufacturing, ICT, and automobile sector of the Nigerian economy. From very humble beginnings, Dr. Maduka has been able to build a colossal business empire, which cuts across almost every critical sector of the nation's economy, from importation and distribution to manufacturing, logistics, information technology, agriculture, real estate, and car assembly. Today, Coscharis Motors PLC is made up of Coscharis Motors Limited, Coscharis Motors Assembly Limited, Coscharis Medicals Limited, Coscharis Beverages Limited, Properties Limited, Technologies, Farms, Mobility, Coscharis Ghana Limited, Coscharis Cote d'Ivoire, Merit Bureau de Change, First System Refinishes Limited, CG Eco LLP, and so many others. So you can see that this is a family business that has gone beyond the African continent in one generation. So we want Dr. Maduka to let us into his vision. What vision drives this expansion, this conglomerate? And then what is he also doing to prepare the next successor? Because that is the most important thing. What is his sustainability plan when it comes to leadership of his company? Dr. Maduka, please.
Thank you, Bongo, and the rest of the team. It's a great pleasure to have all our audience listening to us this afternoon. I think it's very simple. The vision that drives this institution was very clear. At inception, it was a journey of a voyage. I have an idea what the destination will look like, but all the route that would take me there was not crystal clear to me, like every other thing in life. From a religious point of view, I like to look at a man like Joseph, who saw himself as a prime minister in Egypt, but he never knew he was going to be put inside a pit in the process of that journey. If all of those things were all shown to him from inception, he may withdraw and said, let's forget about this prime minister position. I will rather stay with my family or parents. So it's ability to believe in your vision. I believe you require three things to succeed in life. And number one is a vision. Number two is faith to believe in your vision. And number three is courage to take a step. You know, many times people are afraid to take action. If you can't take action, you cannot succeed in life. Courage is not an absence of fear, but it is ability to act in the face of danger, to be willing to say, this is a worthwhile risk that could be rewarding if we are able to make a success out of it. So you look at it and take a calculated risk. So it was clear in my mind from day one, what I wanted to do was to build an institution. It was not the culture with which I grew, you know, get apprentice, work for you for 5 years, you know, teach them what to do, had some information from them and micromanage them. By the time they are gaining knowledge to be a pillar in the company, you give them capital and set them up, the organization start going down, the boys start going up. That was the culture. And I questioned it. When I was a kid, my mother told me, you are too inquisitive, you ask too much questions. You know, why are you making argument? You can't agree with everybody. If everybody in the village want to do something and you think you are the only person that knows, you are the most foolish person. I said, Mom, It requires only one intelligent person in the village to help all the insane people to start thinking proper. We will not join everybody to think like mad people because that's what all of them are doing. So the Igbo culture of business never outlast the first generational founder. In many instances, even before he became late, as he's getting older, he will see the business disappearing from his face. I don't know if how many still remember Ife's Nashi Group, how many still remember Ferdinand Enterprises, how many still remember Chide Pele. All of those big companies that was like multinational when we were growing up, they have all come and gone, and it's become history. You can't, in fact, the pieces of those companies, you won't even find them to put them together again. Why? Because the owners do not acquire the right discipline to institutionalize those organizations. Let me make a point that is important here. If you are called, if you say you are a mason, laying a wall does not prove you to be a good mason. We only know how good you are a mason when you need to take a corner. How successfully your wall will look when you take a corner, then we'll respect you and say you're a good mason. So if somebody is truly an entrepreneur, it's not just what you learn in school, but entrepreneurship should be in your DNA. It should be something you were born. You are a businessman on all angles. And that is why, the only reason why you will be willing to acquire the unprecedented discipline, the discipline that is not common, that brings results. You got to know your limitations. Because you have all the money does not mean you know everything. You may have all the money that is in the world, but for goodness sake, get some experts who have gone to school, who are not as privileged as yourself to start up the business in the way you are, and share from their experience. But an average person from where I hail from, our number one greatest fault is ability to trust. I don't know if it would be appropriate to say it. On average, most of us don't get to trust one another when it comes to business. Therefore, that's why you see most of the businesses, Okonkwo and Okori Enterprises, backward and damaging director, forwarding and clearing agent. The man is the A to Z of the company, is the accountant general. I was like that, because I don't have all the resources and capital to start. But because I am because I am entrepreneur, I mean entrepreneurship is in my DNA. I needed to take a corner, and I'm taking the right corner. After the first set of the employees, when I started making a small capital, I didn't follow the same tradition that I was raised up for, because I've questioned it. I said, I'm going to hire expert now. Because if we are going to be taken serious around the globe to be competed in a structured manner, we cannot do everything that I know how to do. I was at a time a stockkeeper, okay? All the basic principles you require to structure business, I have them not in a very formal way. I have 5 exercise books where I register every purchase I made, register every sales every day in an elementary way, and mark them out of my stock every night to be able to hold my staff accountable when I'm looking for something. So I put structure in place, but that structure cannot support the cost-sharing organizations today. So we have a need to get people who see the bigger picture, and they start engaging your thinking process. They begin to question your assumptions. The things that help me is my ability to know my limitations. Because I know my limitations, I also know my strength. And one of my strengths is what I brought to the table: my dogged determination, my passion to create an institution. To sell my vision to these hired people was difficult. But once I successfully was able to make a believer out of them to buy into it, they begin to tell me, okay, this is where you want to go. Look at the road that will take us there. There was a risk, but I was willing to take that risk because it get to a point that everything was completely out of my control. I am much more comfortable when everything is within my control. I can see it. But when you have taken everything I'm doing and put it in a system, which I don't know, somebody can manipulate that system, it's a risk providing for me. But I need to be willing to know that tortoise never get anywhere until it stick his head out. In the end, inside a shell, he's afraid of the noise outside. He will die in and rotten inside the shell. He need to hit that shell to come out, and it provide him a risk of a hawk coming down to take him. So growth requires some level of risk, not reckless risk, but calculated risk. And that was what I applied that make Koshari's organization what it is. Are we there yet? No. We are very clear on the cost of being there, and time will prove to the generation unborn, because it was clear to me that I was born for a purpose. I am here for an assignment. Never questioned myself whether I wasn't a gazing star. I knew clearly what I came here to do. And therefore, I was not ready to listen to people. I was willing to be laughed at. I was willing to be misunderstood. Okay? And that's what makes Koshari's organization what it is. I think I will allow.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maduka. That was that's a very wonderful introduction to Koshari's and the vision that drives the organization. The right discipline to institutionalize the business, and then the ability to know the limitations and the strength. So that's a great vision. I will be coming back to you to let us into what you're doing to prepare your successor anyway. But before we get there, so let's take a listen to Mr. Rasheed Sarumi, the Managing Director of Sora Africa International Limited. Mr. Sarumi is an accomplished entrepreneur. He's currently the MD of Sora Africa International, a group made up of 5 companies with interest in agro-input solutions, heavy agro-industry processing, and consumer goods. He's a graduate of agricultural engineering from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. He's an alumnus of the most prestigious business schools in the world, including the Lagos Business School #1 and Harvard Business School. He's committed to attending innovative and industry-leading businesses, reflected in the continued growth and excellent performance of the subsidiaries of Sora Africa. So this is also another conglomerate that is operating along the agricultural value chain. They're also in the FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods segment. The group is active in the personal care, insecticide, and beverage segments of the industry via 2 companies, Saro Life Care Limited and Gosi Warm Springs Limited. Rasheed is also passionate about enhancing the lives of Nigerians. He contributed immensely to the advancement of the agro-input industry as the president of Crop Life Nigeria, a professional trade group representing the plant science industry in Nigeria from 2008 to 2010. He was also a member of the Vision 2020 Implementation Committee for Agriculture in Nigeria. He's also very active in giving back in philanthropy, corporate social responsibility, giving back to the society. So a lot of things. Mr. Sarumi, let us also into your vision. And of course, we are more interested in knowing how you are preparing. You said that you are in between. You are not the first generation, you are not the second. So let us know what it is to be, what it means to be in between. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you, Bongo. Okay, part of the business I run today was started by my mom. That was why I did provide a caveat that I'm like in between, almost a first generation, but not entirely a first generation. So I think Dr. Maduka has spoken about almost everything, but I will just try and maybe throw a bit of color that entrepreneurship is actually pursuing your dream, but it's not a reckless pursuit of your dream. So I started the business 29 years ago, and with a clear vision of wanting to run a business that would be professional and a business that would not be mediocre, a business that would be led by extremely smart people, a business where the people will also be able to represent it and like be an example for others to follow. It was very clear. I just had a short vision. I said, I want to build a successful business. Well, over time, I changed that. I want to build a successful business of successful people. And in that success is just about all the stakeholders. And this is what we've been trying to do in the last 29 years. Entrepreneurs are not, okay, I believe in what Dr. Maduka has said, but I don't think I have entrepreneurship in my DNA, to be very honest. What I have in my DNA is excellence. I just want to do things right. I want to be able to push myself. I'm determined, and I like to learn. And these virtues, I would say, have helped over time. Of course, you also know your limitation, and that is why you want to run a professional business, so to speak. There have been bumps here and there, but up until now, we've been able to run the business based on the level of our imagination. Where we have failed, it's been largely because we have not been able to think beyond a particular level. And this makes the Saru story very interesting. Every day we wake up, we know our best is ahead of us. So when we meet new friends, we see how things are done in a better way, we cultivate those things. And that's why we say in Saru, we are 29 years, we're always a work in progress. You know, we change when we see things, we bring innovation to play. Where we innovate, we have the reward. Where we do not innovate, we fail. We take failure as a gift, we learn again, and we're able to move our businesses forward. Now, I didn't start trying to run a family business. Actually, I wanted to run exactly opposite that, because based on the stories, I didn't even want to be referred as a business person, because by the time I entered business people are looked at people who are smart in the negative way and stuff, you know. So I just wanted to run a professional organization. So if I introduce myself, I never say, oh, I'm a businessman. I've never introduced myself like that. I say, oh, this is where I work. Okay, you can plug the others, but very important. And critical to that is learning and bringing people. You know, people do make the difference. I think I attended my first training at LBS way back in 1994, 93. And it was called Creating the Future, the Competitive Edge of Change. I couldn't forget. And the reason is my business, I started in 91, it was doing so well, way beyond my imagination. And I just wanted, oh, will it not crash? How would the future be? And I was reading the newspaper, I saw that because that was where my journey with LBS started, right? And Dr. Kolade said something. There are two types of people. Certain people can create the future, but there are extremely few, right? And of course, you know where they are. They are the billionaires in this world, right? And there are also people, majority of people can actually manage today well and prepare for tomorrow. I knew clearly that I would never belong. I was not smart enough to belong to that first group of people. So I knew where I belonged to. And since that time, what I have done is to try and provide leadership mentorship, fight with my team, call with them, shape our growth, fail most times, few times succeed, celebrate the success, move forward, and the journey continue. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we started the SARO transformation, which is actually to prepare SARO for a new generation of leaders. Again, this is not for the family, okay? For people like me, working this long, I'm near retirement. We have a retirement age, and so the business had to be prepared. And this included taking risk, okay, in not holding on to what worked yesterday, if our best should actually be ahead of us. We cannot always hold on to what worked yesterday. And this openness is creating challenges, but we are dogged, we are determined. We've always achieved what we believed in. And I see my role over the next 6 or 7 years in preparing SARO for this transition. In addition, I only started thinking about the business as a family business, not even minding the fact of how I started, because in 2010, I was fortunate to be in a group where they were talking about family business. It was then I saw the things Uke had shared with us earlier about the benefits of family business. And I did put some things which I will discuss later if asked in place to be able to get my immediate family and my niece prepared, to be responsible owners of the business. That's the first thing I'm doing. So basically, entrepreneurs do not have two heads, right? People tend to look at us from the frame of success. But man, we are ordinary. We make a lot of errors. We mess up most times. We fight when we are not meant to fight. We overrate ourselves and brought down always. The business has a way. It's not like going to school. In going to school, you can wait and you see the result. In business, you make the error, you see it, but we are easily humbled, we accept our mistakes, and we kind of soldier on. So this is my concept that has helped SARO over time. But things I want people to remember is entrepreneurship is pursuing something you believe in relentlessly and not recklessly. Second, failure is a gift. 3, entrepreneurs are ordinary people that have certain skills which they can put to use in the business and in the society at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sarumi, again, for letting us into the mind of SARO Africa International. Some takeaways from here, which again resonates with what Dr. Maduka said earlier, which has to do with intentionality, knowing exactly what you wanted, but not sure where you are going. I think Dr. Maduka spoke to that. You also mentioned something about trust. I will come back to you to ask about, your take on trust. How do you inculcate trust? Do you let people earn it, or are there some steps you take? Are there things you do to institutionalize a culture of trust? Because Dr. Maduka mentioned that as well. How do you get to trust? Because if you don't trust, then passing on the baton becomes quite a challenge. And then you said something about you wanted to build not just, you started off wanting to build a successful business. Then eventually you change it to wanting to build a successful business of successful people. I think I like that so much. Failure is also, you see failure as a gift. Okay, so those are some of the tips that we have, some bits that we can take from your very interesting presentation. And okay, next we have the only lady in our midst. One of the participants has asked the question, why 5 men and and only one lady? So I had to respond to that individual that I am not part of this panel. I just came in here to moderate the session, and Dr. Oke is a convener. Even though he said he's not a family business, he doesn't own a family business, but that is his research. He's the one that is convening this. So he's an expert in family business, whether he likes it or not. That is his professional calling. And also he works in one. So not only does he work in a family business, he's also a researcher and a teacher, a lecturer, a facilitator of family business. So we take that. Okay, so the only lady in our midst is Mrs. Uzoma Ezoke. Mrs. Uzoma Ezoke is the Executive Director, HR and General Duties at Emzo Pharmaceutical Industries Limited. I think we all relate with Emzo, a leading family-owned and second-generation wellness company. 13 of her 25 years as a registered pharmacist were spent in community practice and have cultivated an enduring focus on the customer. She worked as a consultant pharmacist in Boost the Chemist in the UK. She's a registered pharmacist and trainer with Right Aid Corporation USA, a counseling pharmacist at Medco USA, co-founder Emerald Lake Inc. in Las Vegas, Nevada. She's been licensed by Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, Nevada Board of Pharmacy USA, Royal Pharmaceutical Society, United Kingdom. She's an alumnus of course, the prestigious Lagos Business School. She's been on the Chief Executive Program. She has a B.Pharm from Nottingham University, UK. So, Mrs. Ezoke, how have you been prepared for the role that you now find yourself? And what is your vision?
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and many thanks to LBS for this forum. I have to say, I'm feeling somehow, you know, when you're a second gen, at the second gen stage, and you're around founders, you have to strengthen yourself internally because all these founders, you know, it's all about the founder. But I'm really excited because today it's about succession, which brings my generation into view. So I just wanted to maybe start by taking us back to some of the statistics that Dr. Muke gave, that only 30% of family-owned businesses make it to Gen 2, and then that drops to an alarming 10% in Gen 3. And why is that alarming? You know, why isn't it okay that we continue? So I'll share an approach that many are familiar with from the great Professor Julius Nyerere, who said that you are not successful until your successor succeeds. And there's a question I like to ask a lot when I'm trying to motivate myself to do something. And I'll say in my head, is there not a cause? You know, which is, I think, of course, from a scripture. But the cause is that we're also told that 80 to 90% of businesses come under that category of being a family business. So perhaps in looking at my hopes, why am I here? Listening to my bio, I love community pharmacy. I could counsel patients all day, go into their homes, talk to generations down the line and look for trends in, you know, disease management. That's my natural orientation. But in the African context, there is this expectation, well, actually, I think globally, there's an understanding that children are the future, they are the hope, things are supposed to carry on, but there is something about that hope in Africa. It is somehow heavier. There's more emphasis placed on it. It shows up in the priority that we give education. You know, when I studied in England, some of my counterparts couldn't understand the stress when it came to looking at your report cards. And you want to say you don't know African parents, you know, they're over-invested in what you're doing. So I think in the African context, there's a heavier weight. I think we ascribe to expectations from children. But then conversely, you're a child for longer, I think, you know. In the UK at 18, they'll be pushing you out of the house, become independent, move out, you know. In the US, get a job, whether you finish school, you've not finished school, even whilst you're in school. But we seem to have this longer sense of dependence. And I think that's maybe has an impact on how we prepare for this, passing this mantle on. Whilst I was making notes, you know, there are books titled things like passing the baton, but we have this concept of a relay in family business where you pass on from the founder to the next. But in my experience, for the success, I think you have to play together as a team. You know, I think part of why we are less successful sometimes in continuing the vision is that you can't hand over somebody else's vision to someone else who has their own thoughts, has their own aspirations possibly, and did not go with you to the mountaintop when you received said vision. So the things that sustained you are not automatic if you pass the baton. But if you play as a team, I love basketball, but this is Africa, so let me talk about football. You play as a team, everybody has different roles. Defenders have different attributes. I don't really watch football, so let me not fall my own hand here. What do you call the scorer? Anyway, the scorers have, you know, I think they need a different level of...
yeah, the striker, the scorer is the striker.
Strikers, right? Yes, a different level of athleticism. But you have to respect all of that, because a team with all defenders will not win, all strikers will not win. You need people who have a great deal of patience. Basically, you need a lot of different attributes. So I think we need to shift and understand that you're not going to build the business, and then when you're tired of it, or you think now you want to retire and move, I'm from the East, so to the village, I don't know how many cultures do that, or used to, you now want to hand over to someone who has not played this game with you. You know, the family are always there, they've watched you play, you know, but to really get that transfer, I think you have to play together. You have to run and smash into each other whilst you're both going for the same ball. You have to be on the pitch to come and commiserate when somebody missed what is clearly an easy shot, or from your angle it looks like that. And that may be common for siblings, you know. So I think that we have to have a greater sense of accommodation and teamwork together for longer before we think about passing the baton. And I think a very big sense of accommodation in terms of what your expectations are. As I listened to Dr. Maduka, you know, describing this entrepreneurial drive, it also made me think of my mother, Dr. Stella Okoli, who is the founder, and she's 76, I think I'm allowed to say that. I think she's 76. The reason why I don't know is she probably has to stop and think about it. Age does not run her in any way. But we can have meetings that run late, and I will look around the table, I will see managers half her age, less than half her age, nodding off if we run late, and she's going. So there's this kind of energy that I think is founder level energy, let me just call it that. And sometimes when you don't manifest the same spirit, I think sometimes people can struggle. So I think we need to accommodate the differences. You know, some of what you need to get going, if I look at her, she came into business at a time when I don't think there were any other ladies in manufacturing really at the time. And often I enter a meeting room and I'll say, oh, again, I'm blessed among men once again, you know, but this would have been her day to day to day. And you need to adopt a certain posture to navigate that world and keep your, you know, keep your focus. So I think that let me call it the starting anointing is somehow a little bit different than what it takes to maintain legacy. So that's why I talk about accommodating for the differences, because you need a different manifestation at each stage, I believe. So something often happens. My brother and I, my older brother is the chairman of the board, and I serve as one of the directors, but we were both, well, I say left to pasture. He was in the UK and I had moved to the US, and nobody was calling us to ask, when are you coming back? There's this family business. Are you not going to play your part? There was none of that. And I recognize it now to be such a serene gift, because I know others who are either not suited to the family business or are not ready for the family business, who are under so much pressure to come and lend a hand. And I think we need really think about who we're asking to play a part and whether or not they have been prepared. Again, have they been playing on the team in any capacity? Because, you know, part of playing on a team, okay, I play basketball, so I have to switch now, well, I think football has it as well. You sit on the bench. Your name is there, you are fully involved, you have to suit up, you have to attend the games, but nobody sees you, you know, and probably nobody recognizes you. But that's also an integral part of playing on a team, because those sitting on the bench have a different perspective. And if you are open and willing to listen, you can also gain from that. Going back to expectations, and I'll move on from that, I describe my mother as what she is. She's a luminary. You know, luminaries light the way, but they're just a body of light. And I think the challenge with that is sometimes you look for what you have always known. And if we look at light, light is made up of a spectrum of colors, so many different manifestations coming out and combining at once. You look at a rainbow, that's one of the few times you get to see them, you know, more clearly separated. So I think we have to be open and not always expect the miracle in the way that you have known it or in the place that you have known it. At least that's what I tell myself, that don't worry, my own lights will come. So I think that's also very important. And again, in the African context, patience, patience, patience. I don't know that we traditionally put in all the right structures and groom our children, you know, especially if I look at, my oldest is 20, you know, and I've, how would I say, I've let him live his life, you know, essentially. So I have not cultivated an environment of mandate where you are, by the way, when you hit 25, you're going to be reporting back to Lagos and resuming at the family business. I haven't done that. So if that's what my expectation is, I need to have started earlier and built it in, and also checked for his gifts. I have 3 sons. So you look for what their natural gifts are, you look for what you have to build up, and you pay attention. I think that's really important. Sometimes businesses can't continue because you look at the founder and you tell them that child is never going to come into the business. I could tell you from a mile away. Not that they couldn't have. You know, Rasheed shared that he wouldn't describe himself as a natural entrepreneur. But Rasheed, looking at your journey, you're being cultivated, or you've cultivated yourself, you know, prepared to sit in the seats that you're sitting in. And perhaps you'll share later about, you know, what you've done with Family Council and the like to also prepare future, you know, the future behind you. So I think you have to be very, very realistic. You know, if you want to see mango, you cannot plant watermelon. You know, if you see that the plant is growing, but it's growing on the ground, it's not coming up, you're not likely going to get a mango tree. So I think it's something we have to stop pretending to be surprised when we don't do what is necessary and we expect a different outcome. But the other thing that I would, I guess, kind of close with is being accommodating. I talked about players sitting on the bench. And I wish I had an example of a player who was on the bench that later came on and became much more. Perhaps somebody else can share. But don't relegate, if you can, people to their entry, you know, level. We all have different ways of learning. You know, some people need to understand things fully before the confidence grows and they are fully in the mix. So I think we also, when we get to that stage, for the founders, don't get desperate. You start calling every uncle and auntie. To start calling somebody that you haven't even cultivated for this business. Why are you not joining? What are you not doing? Because it happens so much in our context. So be honest with yourself, be very patient. And if you need to, buy a player. I think Dr. Maduka spoke about that. You know, you need certain skill sets to grow your business because you are responsible. You're the founder. This business is your responsibility because remember, if you cannot build something reasonable to pass on to a successor. You're just giving somebody else a headache. You know, so you're responsible. So do your work, buy in all the players, all the subs.
Okay, Mr. Zeke, you should round up now. You are getting a lot of questions, a lot of interest. So that you have time to answer the questions coming.
And get to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. So great insights again from the only lady in our midst, Mrs. Zoke, the, well, what I said, the MD of Emzo Pharmaceutical Industries Limited. Yes, so she said that the starting anointing is somewhat different from the anointing that it takes to sustain the legacy. You will need to let us into what this anointing is, the anointing to sustain the legacy. I can see that you studied pharmacy, and then you've actually cut your teeth in the pharmaceutical world. Was that part of the cultivation? Well, you will have to answer that question later. But for now, let's go to Dr. Alhaji MD Abubakar. MD Abubakar is actually a household name when it comes to dairies in Nigeria. He's a former banker with over a decade experience in development and commercial banking, a very successful dairy farmer, the president of Commercial Dairy Ranchers Association of Nigeria, CODERAN, the umbrella body of the indigenous dairy farmers in the country. He has chaired boards of various federal institutions in the past years and pioneered the setting up of various government agri projects. He has been a member of numerous federal and state government committees on repositioning agricultural sector and financing schemes. A former chairman of Poultry Association of Nigeria, Kano chapter, is currently the managing director and CEO of L&Z Integrated Farms Nigeria Limited, also the chairman of L&Z Dairy Fresh, marketing arm of the farm. He is an executive leadership member of the Nigeria Agribusiness Group. MD Abubakar is an alumnus of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, where he obtained his BSc in Glass Technology, MSc in International Affairs and Diplomacy, and an MBA from Lagos State University. About the farm, L&Z Integrated Farms Nigeria Limited is one of the fastest growing indigenous dairy farms in Nigeria, with a three-pronged approach to growing its business. First, the dairy sources its milk from its own herd of crossbred stock, as well as from pastoralist communities. The Ad Grower Scheme, which provides hybrid calves to the nomadic farmers towards improving their own stock, and in turn improving their milk production capabilities. A production plan set up to produce and package different ranges of dairy products sold through a network of distributors and retail super shops all over Nigeria, prominent among which are ShopRite and Spar. Commercial drivers, strategic drivers for this company are based on shared value and enhanced supply chain management. The company aims to expand the company's distribution range and enable them penetrate new consumer markets. Development impacts. In addition to sourcing for milk from 5 commercial farms, L&Z receives fresh milk supplies from over 100 pastoralist households who benefit from the venture, directly giving the ready market for their milk, and wives and children benefiting from the increased income and access to education. That's a lot, you know, in terms of community outreach and philanthropy and corporate social responsibility. So, Alhaji, how have you managed to build such a large firm, integrated firm? I think it's the largest in Nigeria currently. And then what is your plans towards sustaining the legacy that you have built? Kindly unmute yourself, sir.
To unmute, okay, yeah.
Great.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this very important webinar. I think just like other speakers have said, Dr. Maduka has already spoken our minds. He's a convulsive entrepreneur, and he just said what every entrepreneur supposed to have. First, to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be a risk taker. He has defined that as a calculated risk, not any risk. Yeah. What he has missed out is adventurous. Most of us are very adventurous, and that's why we go to areas that hitherto were not assessed, but we try to see if we can leave our footmark, and if we make success of it, fine. If we don't, then we lick our wounds. These are the risk aspect of it. I also want to say that one of the things that drive me to go into entrepreneurship is actually when I was a child. There was a break between my grandparents and my parents in terms of livestock handling. My grandparents were herdsmen. My father rebelled and came to the city, but I had to go back to the grassroots once in a while to see what my grandparents were doing, and I loved what they were doing, handling cows. But there was a conflict in my mind. Yeah, I was in the city. I needed to be a corporate. I needed to be like, I had a dream of wearing suit and tie, and but I could not, you understand, now link that with the life I saw in the village. So I perished that thought and continued my education, and at the end of the day, graduated and started my banking career in Lagos. So you see, completely detached from livestock. Then over time, I was transferred to be a branch manager in the north from Lagos in one of the new generation banks, and that was when I now reconnected again with my roots. But the entrepreneurship in me was still burning, and thinking that, no, at the time, as I used to tell my colleagues, that if you can grow someone else's balance sheet to this level, I wonder if you put the same energy. And all of you know the new generation bank, then you had a new car, but you sit at one corner because you know the target could not allow you to stay comfortably in an owner's corner. So we will now say that the energy you're putting to develop such to grow such a balance sheet, if you give half of it to yourself, you will definitely succeed whatever it is that is the business you decide to go into. So this was what motivated me to start thinking of, okay, how do I go into entrepreneurship? What do I do? How do I go into business? Then it clicked that, okay, this is the dream I've been having. I wanted to really go into livestock business. But that conflict of becoming a corporate banker, a corporate citizen, and or somebody that is doing a business that looks really posh could not click with what my grandparents were doing. Then the break came when I first went abroad and I visited dairy farms. Then I realized that no, my thoughts were not true, that you can be a livestock farmer and still be the corporate kind of person you really want to be. And God bless Dr. Adeshino of Africa Development Bank. He continued injecting us that you can drop banking and be a livestock farmer. I say, how can but we took that very seriously. And I remembered when I came back after about 2 trips abroad, seeing what dairy farms were and how we could be a successful dairy farmer and become a white collar jobber, if you like. So I related to my family and I told them, look, you know what I'm thinking? I want to drop this banking business and go into my own business. It's like, who did this to you? Will it be that there are still some grandmothers in the village that were touching some things that you're not seeing? What is happening? You are a fabulously paid banker, doing very well in the industry. Why do you want to abandon this to go to bush? Can you remember any successful farmer, any business, dairy business that's making it? So I said, anyway, there's always a way to start things. I think I will try. I have made up my mind. Then the other conflict is the cultural background. I was and I still am polygamous. I had 2 wives. So I need to now have to convince not only 1 but 2 to join me in my dream, a suicide mission, you know, of abandoning a good job to go into the bush. So that was equally another conflict that we need to resolve among ourselves. And they blindly, reluctantly though, followed me, probably because the option left for them was not much. So when we had a shared destiny. I told them, look, we had a shared destiny. We can do this with our children. They had their own dreams, but me and you have come a long way, and probably we may end up together. So why don't we just take the risk together? And they believed me and agreed, and then we went. In fact, that's why I even named the enterprise after their first names, to give them confidence that we are really in it together. So as we started, we become co-founders, the three of us, of rearing cattle and then extracting milk and then converting to yogurt and then selling. One of them agreed to go to Netherlands and learn how to process dairy. The other one, who was a lawyer, agreed to, okay, let me go and do something about marketing so that we come together. So long you agree to go to the bush and herd the cattle and then extract the milk and bring it to us, we will do the other side that look more corporate than the thing you want to do. So this is how the whole thing started, and that's how we get back to L&Z. Now it came to, how do we make it really a corporate entity? We are now the only owners, and then maybe our children. And I now thought that, okay, let's see if there's anybody again outside us that believe in us, that can come and invest in this venture. But we need to demonstrate that we have growth plans, and we're really moving the business the way it's supposed to be. It's profitable, and it's worth inviting investors. And then, thank God, FAFIN came to being, Funds for African Finance in Nigeria, and Funds for Agri Finance in Nigeria, yes. And we met in a seminar with one of the heads, and we agreed that, okay, let's see what we're doing. We agreed, and then they invested, and then that gave us a structure, gave us a kind of corporate responsibility, and it's now have a good board of directors that will come down, structure the company. You will now know you just can't put your hands into the pocket of the company, spend anyhow. You need to have a system in place. Things now look very well and well structured, and a corporate entity was born. So this is one of the dream I had of making the business successful and sustainable, and then with a good corporate outlook. And so having done that, we are now sure that this is a business that we can invite anybody to come into, and probably we can now show it to our kids that this is a business that kids can come into, and probably we pass on the baton to them, and then we hope sometimes in the future, as I saw abroad, you go to farms, you see the 5th generation, 2nd generation, 3rd generation farms. I hope ours will also be like that. But unfortunately, they started demonstrating some level of rebellion and showing independence, highly opinionated. And the first daughter, I tried to see her, I will corner her into veterinary, at least let her learn animal business. And the closest she came to animal was to go and study animation. So, which is a fine art. So you see, not even science is this stuff. So I now realize that you cannot count on them to, as Uzoma said, you can't just push them, allow them to go and pursue their dream, but they will come back one of these days if they really want to come back and run the business. Otherwise, put your structure independent, irrespective of whether you have kids or not, but let the business be sustainable, let the business have a structure, let the business be on its feet. So this should be the driver. And I think this is what is making us what we are. And hopefully, by the time the kids, those that read animation, those that even want to go and read music, or those that whatever you want to read, go and read, go and pursue your dream. After you finish, probably, then we are there waiting for you. You are a director, but you cannot make good money from the business until you are part of the workers of the business. You can only earn dividend, but you cannot accelerate from the business until you come and work as a business. And the hope is, even if you come to join the business, you have to start from the scratch. You have to grow through the system. You have to demonstrate along the line that you have the capacity to manage whatever position we're going to give you. Unfortunately for me, all my kids are millennials. So I don't have the like of Uzoma that probably had some toughen. She was toughened over time like some of us. All these millennials, you know how they think, they live in their own world. So we don't know what they will come back to. Maybe they will change the dairy into something else, or they will come and join us and grow it better. But as someone mentioned, unfortunately, the energy level reduces from the founder as you are going into the next generation. My energy as a founder is much higher than I'm sure the next generation, and that generation must be higher. So you need to re-energize over time. And the energization is bringing them, identify their dream, and then bringing them into the system so that they share in your dream. That's the only way probably you recharge them, and then the business goes on.
Okay, sir.
I would like to take a break here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Very interesting. You know, L&Z Dairies, MD Abubakar. So if you're just joining us, know that we are on the LBS COVID-19 conversation series. And today we are focused on the building blocks of successful and sustainable family business. How do we build businesses to last beyond the founders? And we've had very interesting discussion here, very interesting conversation. We started with Dr. Maduka, the CEO of Koshari's group of companies. We've heard from Mr. Rasheed Sarumi of Saru Africa International. We've also heard from Mrs. Uzoma Ezoke of Emzo Pharmaceutical. And then we've just heard from Alhaji MD Abubakar. So Dr. Okenwuke is the convener of this program. And now many questions have come up here. So I thought I would give you another round to talk about your plans for cessation, especially to Dr. Maduka. Alhaji has covered that. Mr. Sarumi also covered that. But there are a lot of questions, very interesting questions, I think, that we need to pay attention to. Now, the first question comes from, and then I will also advise the panelists, please, if you could click on question and answer. If you go on the bottom of the Zoom app on your computer, you will see Q&A. So if you can click it, you go into the questions, see the questions, and then you can indicate the ones you want to answer. If you want to answer them live, that would be nice. So we can share them. But for now, Akinwale Matami asked a question, a great platform of learning here. And this question should be addressed by Dr. Nwuke. We've mostly considered and talked about family businesses comprising a single family unit, that is father, mother, and direct children. Are there known and successful joint family businesses comprising two different families? If expectedly this will be more challenging to operate, can we point out certain examples to draw strength and mentorship from? I think this goes to Dr. Nwuke. You are the family business specialist. So I don't know if you want to tackle this question.
Thank you, Bongo, and to the gentleman that asked the question. The truth is, a family business is a family business, whether it's a joint family or single family unit. But most family businesses historically start as single unit of family, because entrepreneur, it's not all the time that you see two people coming together to start a business. It happens sometimes, but if you that kind of business, most times in environment, because of the lack of trust, Dr. Maduka mentioned that earlier on, when you have partnerships, more or less. Because if two brothers can start a business, now initially it might just be the two brothers, but as their family unit grows, the one brother has maybe marries one wife or two wives, the other one marries, so it becomes even a lot more complex. Over time, historically, most of those did not even last as long as the single unit family businesses. So perhaps it has not been very popular because most of them have not succeeded. Even by the time, within the lifetime of the partners, they have many more challenges than single unit family businesses. So, but again, I'm not saying that is not, it does not exist. It does exist, but the success rate is far lower than that of single unit family businesses. Now, if you want to even take it further, you have a unit family business today. When the founder is no longer there, remember it becomes sibling business, because now if the founder has 10 children or 3 children, the 3 children now have to agree to keep the business. It becomes more complex. By the time you get to the third generation where you have cousins start coming in, it can become far more complex. So we didn't want to complicate all of that today. So we applied to our focus on the single unit family businesses, which in itself also have challenges. Okay, so but that model exists, but not as successful as single unit family business.
Okay, sir.
I don't know if
all right, thank you very much, Dr. Onwuke. I'll go to Dr. Maduka. There are some direct questions to you. The first one is from Ugu Patrick. He says, thanks for the lecture. You talked about vision, faith, and courage. These principles are always available in a typical businessman. Do you have you ever benefited from government to blossom into what you are today? That is a direct question. And then another one by Rinji Kasem. How do you overcome distrust and leverage partnership? Yes, Dr. Maduka, I don't know if you want to address these questions. Kindly unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Bongo. I wanted to be sure you are done with the question before I can come in and answer you about it. Clearly, your family business can work, and I'm sure a lot of people know clearly that the next thing the world wants to know is when I am gone, when Okenwuke is left Koshari's organization, Josiah Samuel left Koshari's organization, what happened? That's a question that stares to our face every day. But it's very simple, in my opinion, because if you know where you are going, if you have an idea where you are going, it's easy for you to know when you take a long detour, when you are on the wrong path, you will come back. But if it's not clear, and that was one of the things I explained from the beginning to say, you will know the destination, but all the routes to get you there, you may not know. I worked hard for the benefit of the guy that asked questions, so I can tell him about my humble beginning. Actually, my story is not the story of a humble beginning, because humble beginning is relative. My story is a story of rag to riches. A young man that lost his father at the age of 4, no formal education. The best I did in a 4-corner wall called school is 3rd grade. But I believe that everywhere I have been in life is a school. It is whether I am willing to learn or not. You cannot only learn in a 4-corner wall called school. Because in the things you call 4-corner wall called school, we have some great intellectuals. I've seen doctors who will explain to you how dangerous it is to smoke. You know, if you do this, you will die by the age of your charcoal will be your heart. By the time the lecturer is leaving the school, he put his cigarette. So this man has knowledge, but he has no wisdom. Okay? Wisdom is application. Knowledge is limited to everything that is known. But when you have wisdom, you take action, positive action that will bring a result. So I've asked people, okay, you speak an impeccable English. No, nobody can find any wrong words from your English. Have Queen of England called you one day and rewarded you for that grammar you speak? It's very important, but you need to support it with substance. Otherwise, you become a bunch of intellectuals. So you still need to learn street smart and combine it with hard work. I know my story is supposed to be inspirational, but can equally be intimidating for some young men, because they say, no, this is a joke of a century. What do you mean 200 naira? Is it this 200 naira we know? Yes, this 200 naira you know, which I could have spent to chop goat head that evening. My uncle gave it to me, or eat pepper soup. And then I will blame everybody around me, including God, and ask him, why did he take my father when I was 4 years? I think he's the second or the third president of the United States that says nothing on the face of this earth will help a man or a woman with a wrong mental attitude. And nothing can stop a man or a woman with the right mental attitude. It all starts the way we are thinking. Your thinking process. How do you process information? When you meet challenges, does that become a liability to you or a stepping stone for something to happen in your life? If you looked at behind me, you will see a young lady that is there. I've been married with her for 42 years. You will see another animal that reflects my character. It's a lion. Lion see elephant in the afternoon. He does not see how big elephant is. 5 times stronger and more heavier than lion. But with the right mentality, lion believe I am the king of the forest. So this big thing is a lunch or it's a dinner. So he do everything to jump behind it and will do everything to bring it back. And that's where I say that if you are truly born entrepreneur, you can, entrepreneur people are ordinary people, but let me be very honest, some of them are born. At the end of the day, when you meet a situation like that, something that you have not known, something will release an adrenaline in your system that tell you this can be done, and you get it done. So my mother was one of the women that made the magic. After the death of my father, she looked me straight into the eyes. That's why I tell women, don't wait till your children become 40 years or 25 before you train them. Start speaking to them when they are in the womb. If you start training your child by 7 years, you have lost 8 years of his life. You should be positioning the child, telling that child where he will be. You may not all get it right, but that's how it happened. When my mother looked me straight into the eye and tell me I can go places and that I'm a likable fellow and nobody can say no to me, I grew up with optimism. I never stop on the line. When you tell me the door is closing, I tell you when I get there, it will open. And I've seen it happen all the way in my life. She flies.
Okay, Dr. Maduka, so that we can take other questions, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your great insights. Okay, there are some other questions. I want to address this to Mrs. Ezoke. You've got some questions directed at you. I don't know if you've seen them on the question and answer. So okay. It'd be nice if, okay. So there are some questions.
I think the first I saw was on managing rivalry between siblings. Thank you for that. That's a very important question. It's part of why some businesses won't get past generation 2 because they tear each other apart. I think we have been very, very blessed in our family where there were 3 of us. We lost our younger brother some years ago. Actually, he would have been 40 yesterday, you know, but it leaves my older brother, Emeka, and myself, Uzoma, and that's where the name Emzo came from, Emeka and Uzo. So I like to think it was built to, you know, get into our generation. So Emeka's the chairman of the board. I was the first to come into the company. So I'll just share an experience that I think addresses how we do it. There was a day not long after he became chairman, maybe a few months in, and I opened my emails and I forget exactly what the email said, but it was the tone. I sat down and I said aloud, did this guy just give me a directive? You know, I had to ask myself, what was that? Since when did I start reporting to him? Because we weren't really sat down and it wasn't really articulated. So I asked myself 2 questions. I said, who is he in this company? I said, okay, he's the chairman of the board. I didn't ask myself whether I was there first, whether I do more in my mind, whether I'm the pharmacist, he should be deferring to me. I said, well, does he have a right to be here? And what is his role? And is what he asked me in keeping with the role? And the answer was yes to everything. So I did it. And that was a turning point for me. I just put all thoughts behind. And it's the same way that he manages, you know, in his relationship with me within the workplace. There is complete respect. The second question from the same person had to do with how to manage people who are not accustomed to female entrepreneurs. My mother is the first of, I think, 10 children. I think 8 survived. But she was the first child, a female child, and her father did not wait to have a son before he began to train her fully. And this is 70-something years ago. So I think what we enjoy is as a result of the mindset. You know, Dr. Maduka talked about training your children. We were trained as children, not as male or female. I think other people make more of those distinctions. So that informs how my mother behaves. She comes into a room, you have to tell her that it is a men's only room. If she thinks she requires something behind that door, she will come in looking lovely. She will laugh with you, but don't make a mistake.
So that we will run out of time, so that we can take other questions, a few more. So before we round up, we just have 10 minutes left. Thank you, Mrs. Okay. There's another question to Mr. Rasheed. Somebody's asking you, that's Anthony Chukuma, is asking, any plans of going public or private placement to create wealth for others too? The question is to Rasheed. And then the similar question to Dr. Maduka, someone asks, if any foreign or local company wants to buy into your company, Kosharis Group, will you be disposed to sell a percentage of the company? So first, Rasheed, then Dr. Maduka. Please unmute yourself, we can't hear you. Unmute, please.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. As a family business, we are focused on the business being a family business over several generations. However, the structure of ownership will change with time based on the demands of the business and the external environment as well as opportunities. So we are not ruling out getting other investors on board. We are not ruling out getting financial investors on board. Neither are we ruling out going public. But we won't just do it for the sake of doing it. But for now, we prefer what we have first to remain a family business where ownership resides with the family. But that does not say it all. This company is, the group is blessed with very smart and talented people. We have independent board, very, very accomplished. You know, entrepreneurs, they don't like being told the truth, right? So you need to have those independent board, people who are accomplished in their rights and are able,
Okay, Mr. Sarumi, I think you've answered the question. So I'll move to Dr. Maduka, just in 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
Somebody asked whether you will be willing to or disposed to let someone buy into your company.
Absolutely. We started working on this by 2015. We got KPMG to help us put all the system, what they require for us to go there. If the economy had remained what it is, by now would have listed. That's why Kosharis motto is PLC now in terms of shareholders structures, but we are not yet listed in the stock exchange. We are not stopping in Nigeria Stock Exchange. We intend to list in London Stock Exchange as time as opportunity presents.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Maduka. The last question that I would like to address, because so many questions have come, I will mention all the questions, all the people who have asked questions. At least they should get the merit of having participated and actively by asking questions. So Fidelis Ono asks to, I think this is to Alaji. Wow, I didn't know we had we had local processors for dairy in Nigeria. What are the immediate challenges of such an endeavor? Please unmute yourself, Alaji.
Yeah, the biggest challenge is the dumping of cheaper dairy products on Nigeria. So you realize that your cost of production is higher than the selling price of dairy products imported from Europe. because what you take as a challenge here as an aggregate part of your project cost is just taken for granted over there. So at the end of the day, they have much cheaper cost of production than you. So when they are coming to the border or into the country where tariffs supposed to siphon and make it come at the same level with you, the tariff is so low. We have the lowest dairy tariff, I think, if not in the world, in Africa. So the country encourages import of dairy products and discourage dairy production locally. So this is the challenge we are having.
All right, thank you very much. Now, to mention some of the people who asked questions, some of the participants, we have Olufunke Malomo. How do you handle a family business that the immediate family members are not competent enough? I think this has been addressed. Jude Semono asked a question. Toby Chidolo. Anonymous attendees. Nelson Alino. How valuable is the public listing of these family businesses and the related transformation of the ideology from family-owned business? That's about structuring, which has been dealt with as well. Deji Oyabadejo, we thank you. Olubenge Adebayo, we thank you. Fidelis Ono, Toby Chidolo again. Ugu Patrick, we answered your questions. Oluwadare Joshua Oyebode, Rinji Kasem, we answered your question as well. Elona Ago, I hope we addressed your question as well. When one of the founding members pass on and the widowed spouse finds it difficult to carry on, basically due to losing interest or whatever, what's the advice on how to, those questions can, then Akinwale Matami, we've addressed your question. Adeleye Adewoye, your questions, I hope it's been addressed by, Fidelis Ono, again. See, Igwe Ekelechukwu Queen Ajagbe, Abiyogu, Gloria Iriobe, Nek Opala. Okay, so these kids, Niyi Olukoya, Camillus Mboji. So I think Bimbola denied. Addition Adewole. Any plan for Enzo to go PLC? I think we've taken the much that we can. So I will now invite Dr. Nwuke to give the concluding remark, and then we'll call it a day. Dr. Nwuke, please. Kindly unmute yourself.
Okay. Once again, I'll say thank you to all the participants in today's session. From all the questions that have been asked, from the experience we have shared, gotten from the panelists, tells us that still a whole lot of work to be done. This webinar is the first of a series of activities planned by Lagos Business School. First of all, for us to raise the consciousness, which I think we have done successfully by the nature of attendance and interactive participation by the audience. Now, the next thing subsequent to this, we're also going to look at all the questions that have been asked, all the experience that we shared today, and we're going to develop a seminar, seminar series built around managing family businesses. And the seminar will be structured in such a way that begins to, this building block that we talked about today, helping us to understand now this seminar will be meant for owners of family businesses, professionals in family businesses, investors in professional businesses, family businesses, professional consultants to family businesses, etc., whether lawyers, accountants, etc. Because the truth is, if you don't understand the nature of the animal, you find it difficult to know what kind of advice or engagement you want to have with them. So we are going to be coming back to the audience. We have your database. We'll be inviting you for the seminar when we get it ready. But the thing about this one is, it will be a bit more structured, where we will have stay a few hours, go through the building blocks that we talked about today. Some of the things that we're going to be addressing will be, how do you manage family businesses? How do you move from family enterprise to institutions? You've had a bit of it today from the panelists. How do you enhance succession in your family businesses? And then having built a family business, how do you sustain the legacy? Our objective, as you can see from this slide is, today, if you look at the program that CNN does, 100-year club. I've not seen any Nigerian business in that club. You see proud companies all over the world, 100 years and still going strong. How do we ensure that working together, collaborating with owners and professionals that have something, one thing or the other to do with family businesses? How do you ensure that we build the next, the African versions of Mercedes, Heineken, Ford, Hilton, etc.? These are names of individual entrepreneurs who have succeeded in making sure their business survive them and continue to live strong. I think we have a very good big objective for us to achieve, but we hope that we'll be able to do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Oke Nwoke. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor of Pan-Atlantic University, Professor Joanne Legido, the Dean of the Lagos Business School, Professor Enaso Kenedo, it is me, Bongade, thanking you all for participating in today's webinar. We thank especially our panelists, distinguished panelists, Dr. Cosmas Maduka, Alhaji MD Abubakar, Mr. Rasheed Sarumi, and Mrs. Uzoma Ezoke. We thank you all for sparing us this time to be with us. And for all of you participants who burnt your data and your time to be with us, we thank you for the active participation. Please, as Dr. Nwoke has mentioned, some of the questions you've raised here, the ones we couldn't answer, they will be addressed in his seminar. The seminar will be run, the way we do things at Lagos Business School. I would also like to inform you, in case you've not heard, that LBS is now the #1 business school in Africa, rated by the Financial Times of London when it comes to customs, executive education, and executive education as well. So we are #1 in Africa. So which means we know how to really groom managers, whether for family businesses or for other businesses. So we welcome you to all our programs. Please make sure that you patronize us. Thank you very much for today, and I wish you all the best.
Bye-bye, everybody, and have a good evening.
Okay.